One of the biggest problems faced by explorers, as you can probably imagine, is that of language. Alan and Bill, I would like you two to imagine that you are two of the Pilgrim Fathers who've arrived on the Mayflower in the coast of the United States or America.
Right.
And I would like Rich and Sean to imagine you are Native Americans who meet them. How, you can use sign language if you like, would you communicate?
I would immediately read from the Book of Common Prayer. Hail, savage.
Hi, how are you?
What's that, Toby jug?
Yes.
Where's the pub?
Foaming pint of beer.
Humate, huppatimite, itimite, never mind the buzzcocks. Jonathan Creek. What's about? Habate tata, I can't believe my eyes.
Not just never mind the buzzcocks, other things as well. Do stand up. Ha 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 ha. Piano. Playing in hotels.
You think you're the first explorers here, don't you? Where do you think these eyeglasses came from?
The extraordinary thing is, between them, Rich and Bill are absolutely right. The first thing said by one of the Native Americans who met the Plymouth Brethren was, could I have some beer? In English. He asked for beer in English.
He met the Indian, did?
Yes. He spoke fluent English. He'd crossed the Atlantic 6 times. This was in 1620. America had been visited by others. The Pilgrim Fathers were not the first people to land in America by any means.
It's a trick question, wasn't it?
Yeah, his name was Squanto, the best known of them.
Yes.
But this particular one was called Samoset, and he spoke very good English.
Somerset.
What did he say then? Get off my land!
Have you got some cider?
You bloody pilgrim farmers, get off my land!
He learned his English from fishermen and from his friend
And the
Squanto.
archers.
And from the archers, probably, as well.
Sure. Are you buzzcocks? That's what he said.
But instead of getting beer, he got cheese and a bit of duck. And they both helped the Pilgrim Fathers survive their first year because they had nothing to eat when they arrived. And all there was Maine lobster, which is now a delicacy, but they thought was hideous.
But they were in terrible strife, weren't they? And they were about to starve.
Yeah.
And then they said, well, actually, you can... here's some turkey.
Yes.
And the full...
And some cranberries.
And then they killed them all. With guns.
Unfortunately, yes. There was 50 years of peace, though. In fact, Squanto brokered a peace that lasted for 50 years. They lived together very happily. He was an interesting fellow, Squanto. He was kidnapped from his village by a British captain around 1605, which was 15 years before the Mayflower sailed. And he lived in England for 9 years. And then he returned home on another British ship. Then another British captain kidnapped him and tried to sell him into slavery in Spain. He was rescued by some Spanish friars, escaped back to London, took ship again, this time to Newfoundland, found it was too far to walk home, so he sailed all the way back to England. The following year, he signed up for an exploratory expedition to New England and crossed the ocean again. By the time he had crossed the Atlantic 6 times, he was fluent in English. How many bullets are there in a gunslinger's revolver?
7. 5.
12 stone, 4 ounces.
6.
Well, 6, they're called 6 guns, and they have, as you noticed, 6
But there were
chambers.
6 in and 1 in the spout, isn't that?
No, it's not 6, quite the other way around.
5.
You're right, 5. Why 5?
Gravity.
Well, it's simply safety. Wyatt Earp, who one can be regarded as something as an expert, he said, I've often been asked why 5 shots without reloading were all the top-notch gunfighter ever fired with, 5, when his guns were chambered for 6. The answer is safety. The hammer rested on the empty chamber, so it could never discharge by mistake, because there was no safety catch on that. And there, of course, the great Clint Eastwood. I did a thing in America once, and there was an armourer, who's the film guy who gives you the gun and everything and takes it away and keeps you safe and gives you blanks or whatever. And he told me a fact. He'd been doing it since the 30s. He'd been working on westerns. He said only 2 actors he ever worked with, and he worked with them all, didn't blink when they fired a gun. This is actually, oddly enough, a shot of Clint exactly proving he was one of them, because the gun's going off and his eyes are open, as much as they ever were. And he was one. He never blinked. John Wayne blinked, you know, Anthony Quinn, Gary Cooper. Who was the other?
Kenneth Williams.
Carry On Cowboy. Yes, it's got wide open. The idea of those butch American armourers called Rusty and Randy, whatever, having heard of Kenneth Williams. It was your own guy, Kenneth goddamn Williams. No,
Bravest guy I ever
it's
knew.
actually Westworld is probably the Western
Yul Brynner.
most people would think of. Yul Brynner, yeah. Yul Brynner never blunk. So anyway, the answer is they have 5 bullets, not 6.
In the Middle Ages, what shape did people think the world was?
Flat.
I know we all think they did, but there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever. They all thought it was round. They all wrote about it as round. The Greeks knew that it was round.
Round and flat.
No,
round.
they thought it was a sphere. Terry Jones, the Python, who is something of a medievalist, as you may know, he blames Washington Irving, the American writer, for one of those being who started this lie, as he puts it. The Greeks knew it was round, he says. Chaucer knew it was round. Roger Bacon wrote about the curvature of the Earth in the 13th century. So,
Well, I
apparently...
think the majority of people didn't really care.
No. But they started.
As indeed we don't now actually care that it's round. If it was square, it wouldn't bother me. I'd rush to the edge. In fact, I'd want to go right to the corner.
You sit on the corner.
How do we know it's round?
Yeah, huh?
Round the world tickets.
One is photographing. Photographing it was a very big help. We took a photograph and we saw that it was
Yes,
round.
but then you could say that about anything, about people going to the moon, and we know they didn't.
If it weren't round, all the flights of aeroplanes, if it weren't round, just nothing that we
How do we know they
would
just don't fly, just circle round for a bit and let you think that you're going miles and miles and miles, and just come down, like, you know, a couple of hours away, and they've set Russia up a lot nearer than it is.
It's a really, 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 really long oblong shape.
On a track, like an electric bike, and they just move it.
Whizzing
The
round.
plane goes up, the plane doesn't move. They move the country in front of them.
Are all the stars round?
I can't answer that. I think probably most...
But yet you know what people thought 500 years ago.
Can I read books? Yes. Have I visited every star in the universe? No. Is that something that you find difficult to understand? You set me off. You've set Sir off again.
Don't you think that this series has reached the point, with a dedicated following who trust us, that this would be the point where you could say just one thing in a show? You could say, just like this, the world isn't round. It's been proven. Most people will now believe it who watch this show.
Well, I can say with some confidence, ladies and gentlemen, the world is not round. It is an oblate spheroid.
No, that's not what I meant.
No, I'm sorry. I was being literalist.
Pine cone. If you'd said the world is shaped like a pine cone. Just to see how many letters
Screwball.
we get.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, wouldn't it? Get some at last, anyway. Apart from the... well, you know who you are, don't you? And I tried it, and it was a disaster. Yes, no, since the 4th century BC, almost no one in the history of the world has believed that the Earth is flat. It's a common misconception, and indeed the song lyric, they all laughed at Christopher Columbus when he said the world was round, but he didn't think that the world was round. He thought it was actually pear-shaped, funnily enough. There were 7 Roman emperors who bore the name Caesar, not counting Julius, who started the whole thing, but of course wasn't himself an emperor. We all know what he did. He came, he saw, he conquered. But what did Nero do? Oh, did you say that? Oh, Joe, he didn't fiddle while Rome burned, no.
He had a concrete swimming hat.
He was very, very... very productive, wasn't he, Nero?
Nero was
He built most of Rome, not the Rome you see.
Well, he rebuilt it after it was burned down, indeed.
Did he have an enormous gold statue of himself built? Incredibly vain and stupid. And
Vain
people
is the
didn't like
word.
him.
His dying words were, "What an artist dies in me," and he played.
Was
he
there
did-
someone in him at
And
the
of course, Fauvised painter has just perished inside my being. Well, anyway, no, of course, the fiddle didn't exist in Roman days. The fiddle was invented, in the 15th century, I think, something like that. So he would have played kithara or something, a sort of lyre-like thing.
But was he doing it like a sort of fire engine alarm? Like...
Well, there's some evidence he did try and put the fire out, actually. He blamed a small sect of people for the fire. It was a very useful scapegoat.
The gays.
No. Even smaller, slightly less well-dressed, and oddly enough, to this day, enemies of the gays.
It wasn't the Chavies.
No, it was even worse than the... It was
Coptics?
those damned Christians, yes. Nero, played by Christopher Biggins, of course, in TV's popular I Clavdivs.
I Chavdivs.
Yeah. Some people think he may have even been playing bagpipes when he was watching...
Christopher Biggins? No, he is actually that side. Bagpipes, I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, can't be having it.
They have this tuning, and it's on. Scots do that when they talk. I'm not sure. It's very odd, though. So anyway, there we are. There's old Nero, whatever he was. He was eventually booed off, of course, and succeeded by a more popular entertainer who was called Galbus, Servius Galbus Caesar Augustus, to be precise. And he got rid of bagpipe performances and he replaced them with tightrope walking elephants. Which of these would you choose to defend yourself against an alligator with? A, paperclip. B, crocodile clip. C, paper bag. D, handbag. E, rubber band.
I'm an expert on alligators because I grew up in the swamps of New Orleans.
Oh, tell them.
When it says to defend yourself against an alligator, that's the trick part of the question. This means if the alligator is litigious and is trying to sue you, let's say because you're wearing his mom on your feet. There's a lot of paperwork involved in defending yourself in court against an alligator.
Is that where the word...
You would need a paper clip for that.
Is that where the word allegation comes from?
Yes.
Very good.
However, you might need a paper bag if the alligators will taunt you before they attack you. And will like a boxer, they will often hold a press conference. And they will say, you can't fight your way out of a paper bag, buddy. And then you will have to prove that you can fight your way out of a paper bag before you can fight the alligator.
Ingenious. Ingenious and so wrong. Any thoughts on the right-hand side?
Inflate the paper bag, bang, like that, like a gun. Boom! And the alligator loses all confidence.
It's possible. It's possible.
Starts to back away like that, and then you get the handbag and ram it over its snout like that, and then put the clips on its nipples, really.
You almost flirted with the answer there, Bill, when you talked about putting the handbag over its jaws.
But he also said that alligators have nipples.
That's a very good point. I have to say, we do have to pull you up on your nipples there.
I've got nipples.
Alligators are not mammals.
Have you never milked an alligator?
No. No one has. And if you think you have, I'm afraid you really do have problems.
Really big crocodile clip, you could clamp its jaws shut.
Well, now you see, this is the interesting thing. I will tell you the answer, because alligators and crocodiles, despite their fearsomeness, will be rendered pretty much hopeless if you pop a rubber band around them, because the muscles that close the jaws of a crocodile or an alligator amount to several tons per square inch. But the muscles that open them are so weak that they can be rendered silly just by the presence of a small, stout, elastic band around them. So all you would have to do is pop the elastic band before it managed to open its mouth.
All you would have to do.
And it would not be able to...
Why is it that all aquatic vicious beasts can be subdued by something really simple? Like sharks as well, you just punch them stoutly on the nose, don't you?
I suppose it's because in their natural habitat, things like the ability to punch stoutly on the nose don't exist. There is no stout-punching fish that roams the oceans. And there is no rubber band bird in the Everglades. What do we know of Herod's wife? In other words, what was the name of Herod's wife? Yes.
Mrs. Herod.
Oh, I'm not going to say you're predictable, but my goodness me.
No, we want her given name. They didn't use Mrs. in Judea.
Maria, Sylvia, Jane, Michelle, Mary.
Fortunately, we haven't got all those up. No,
Beyonce.
It's nearly that odd. It's nearly that odd.
Madonna.
It begins with
Yvonne.
a D.
Denise.
No.
Detox.
Donna.
Diana.
Closer.
Donatella.
Donatella.
No, forget the N.
Dot.
Dor is a good beginning.
Dorothy.
Shorter.
Dorothea. Doroth.
Que sera, sera, sera.
Doris.
Doris, thank you, Doris.
Doris Heron? Yes.
No, it's a surprise. Her name was Doris.
He's been out all night killing babies, I'm telling you. He comes back in here covered from head to foot in the blood of the innocents. I am not washing that cloak.
Good. A lot of mileage to be had out of poor Heron's wife. She was indeed called Doris.
Doris.
It's a Greek name. To our ears, it is a bit funny, but
It was
Did you find the Messiah? Because he's a very naughty boy.
King Heron and Queen Doris. There they are.
How do you say it in Greek, though?
Oh, you would say Doris. Probably a slight hint of.
Can you
of
do a
that.
Greek pronunciation of Greek things?
Stachtodochios, if you want, is ashtray, for example. Or you mean ancient Greek?
Ancient Greek, yeah.
It wasn't the same sort of Greek. They weren't walking around in togas up the Parthenon and that philosophising, going, I wonder whether the sun go round the earth or is it other way around? It's been a puzzling me all night about a triangle and whether they are like the angle, they all are the same on the different angle compared to that one up there is the same, innit?
That was Pythagoras.
Put these vegetables on that skewer and shut up.
My grandfather always used to call Pythagoras Pythagoras because he was Hungarian, my grandfather. He said, you go to school, you'll learn about Pythagoras. And I was thinking, who's this Pythagoras? And I remember, and I came out, he said, did you do the Pythagoras? I said, no, we've not done any Pythagoras. He said, you ask your mathematics teacher, must do the Pythagoras. And I said, are we going to do Pythagoras? He'd go, shut up, Fry. Yes. So I did Pythagoras, and years later I discovered he meant Pythagoras. He used to pronounce pineapple upside down cake, Piniople opshide dovne tsoka.
I just wanted to move on because my mom's name is Doris.
Oh, there you are.
It is.
After, or named for, as you say in America, named for Doris Day?
No. It was given to her by the president of Madagascar.
He said, let them eat cake.
Yes. It's that French woman.
Yes? What's
Dawn French.
Oh, very good.
She said let them eat brioche.
Who did?
I'm not saying it.
I'm asking you. I need to know.
Oh, was it Mr. Kipling?
Oh, Jimmy. Oh,
Osmond.
Marie Osmond.
Kirsten Dunst.
No.
Kirsten Dunst in that shocking film. It's the worst film ever made since Revolution with Al Pacino.
Did it involve cakes? Oh, a Marie Antoinette film.
Yes.
Oh, was it?
So did you say what?
Yes.
Who said it?
What you?
Marie Antoinette.
Wait, why are you keeping on saying Marie Antoinette?
Because I wanted that to happen. No, Marie Antoinette didn't say it, or if she did say it, she was quoting it. She was born in 1755, as every schoolboy knows, and the phrase was seen in print in 1760, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau claims to have seen it in 1740. So it's an old thing. It's this idea that it was Marie Antoinette is not true.
I think it's unfair. You want to hear the whole conversation.
Yeah.
They haven't got any bread. Let them eat cake. They haven't got any cake either. Oh, I understand this is a problem.
Yes.
I'll in some way talk to the ministers about it. We'll see what we can do.
That might well have been the accusation that one grand lady or another committed this particular gaffe was in circulation at least 15 years before Marie Antoinette was born. What would you do to a waiter who drew a smiley face on your bill?
I'm not a fan of the smiley face. I don't mind them introducing themselves.
Right. That's
But
a good
yeah, the
point.
weird thing is a waiter goes, hi, I'm Stephen, I'll be your waiter. If you call them Stephen for the rest of the night, Stephen, and they come out, they get quite annoyed. About halfway through the main course, Stephen, this meal is really good. You tell them lots of things and maintain contact and use their name all the time, then you get a sad face on you. It's like personalised number plates. If you ever see a car go by and it's got Reg in it and then you see him go, all right, Reg, they don't like it.
idiots then, aren't they? I have a friend who's a producer on Broadway, and when he's in Joe Allen's, which is an actor's restaurant, and he wants attention at the table, he goes, "Oh, actor," which is very mean. Yeah, it's very rude, isn't it?
Yeah, they don't like that. The stewardesses don't like that on planes when you go nurse. I hate it.
Is it?
I should have even said stewardess. They're not even. What are they now?
Is that a cabin crew?
Attendants.
Attendant.
Attendant. Cabin crew.
Cabin crew!
Yeah.
You work out of Stansted, don't you? I recognise that. Does the smiley face mean the waiter's pleased with what you've done, the way you've conducted yourself?
No, it's
You're
a way
a
of
good
getting.
customer?
It's a way of getting a bigger tip. And weirdly, it works.
It works.
Yeah.
They should draw little otters. That would be better.
Yeah.
On their backs, round stones.
Yeah. Does that really work? Are you saying, Stephen, that gets some bigger tip?
Yeah,
Is that
drawing a
just
smiley face, introducing your name, telling a joke, apparently.
How about decent service?
Wow, I don't think they've ever thought of that, but that might work.
Is that a suitable tip? Because if it is, I'm going to change everything. That's fantastic.
That's quite
£1.30.
What, which is the nation of biggest tippers?
America, is it?
America, yes.
They're obliged to, aren't
what's
they?
considered the...
20%.
20%?
Yeah. But if it's bad service, you take the tip and you put it in a glass of water and you turn it upside down. And you leave it on the table.
But you still leave it. I mean, if you leave an American restaurant without tipping, the waiter will chase you.
Oh, sure.
They will run down the street after you and say, "Sir, you didn't tip."
Yeah,
they really will.
They do. They come and take your money and they say, "Will there be any change with that?" Yeah. He gets, I think.
But then you can't...
That's a $100 bill, and I've just had a cup of tea.
But what do we think in Britain is the right
10%.
10%. Yeah. But the average that's left, apparently, in British restaurants is 8.5%. And so out of the Welsh and the English in Britain, who are the bigger tippers?
I'll go Welsh.
Yes, they are. The English are the worst tippers in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that in the slightest.
No, I'm not either.
Actually, the English resent tipping.
They do,
don't they?
You know what? I don't think it's even that they resent tipping. I think they can't even be bothered to do the math.
No.
Why was King Charles XIV of Sweden ashamed of his tattoo?
It's Dudley Moore, isn't it?
Charles XIV of Sweden.
Well, because Bernadotte, one of Napoleon's
have the right
generals,
answer.
went to become King of Sweden.
He did.
And did Charles XIV, was that Bernadotte?
It was.
And he had a tattoo, "I love Napoleon," on his arse. No.
He wasn't appointed by Napoleon. He was actually appointed by the ailing Charles XIII. Napoleon regarded it as a joke. But Bernadotte had been a young revolutionary, a Jacobin. And he had a tattoo that said "Death to Kings" as a young man. Wow. Then he was adopted by the old King of Sweden, Charles XIII, became Charles XIV, and was incredibly successful and completely backed away from France, had an alliance with England,
the Great
with
Coalition.
Russia, invaded Norway, became King of Norway as well. And the Bernadotte family still rules Sweden.
Yeah.
They are still the kings.
It's very confusing, that period, because, I mean, Napoleon had Irish generals. He even had a Scottish general.
Yeah.
You know, just because you came from somewhere, you didn't have to fight for their army.
No, indeed. What do you call an Irishman with no nipples? That's Richard Harris, of course.
In A Man Called Horse.
A Man Called Horse.
It's a great movie, isn't it?
Things.
It seemed extreme when I first saw that, but now there's guys in Camden Town that have that done.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be an Edinburgh show now, wouldn't it? Yeah, part of the festival.
He deserved 10 times worse than that for writing MacArthur Park.
Oh, yes. Cake left out in the rain.
Someone left the cake in the rain. Who cares?
My nan left the cake out in the rain. It would have absorbed all the rain. She made a very dry cake.
He didn't actually write, to be fair, to Richard Harris. It was written by Judy Webb, but he did sing it, and he's guilty of that. But this question isn't about Richard Harris. This is about Irishmen with no nipples. Yeah, it seems bizarre, but there is a real historical point of interest here. What could an Irishman never be if he had no nipples?
Symmetric.
We're going back to the past. Symmetric. We're going back into the past in Ireland. It's a very peculiar thing, but part of your way of showing loyalty to your sovereign, if you were an Irish subject in the ancient days of the Irish kings, was you had to suck their nipples. Right? So, and you may say, well, OK, but what kind of person doesn't have nipples? There would be fights, contests, and people would apply, as it were, to be King of Ireland. And if they were found not suitable, they would have their nipples cut off, which meant they could never be King of Ireland.
Sorry, they did it like Britain's Got Talent.
Basically, yes.
This is how Britain's Got Talent should just tweak it so it's the same.
It would be quite something. But there was Old Crochan Man, which was one of the peat bog discoveries.
And he was so well preserved that when he was discovered, it wasn't archaeologists or museums or anthropologists who got in touch with it, it was the police. But in fact, it was from between 300 odd to 100 odd BC that this person had
So
died.
the chances of getting...
well preserved.
You would describe that as a cold case.
No, yeah, you would.
The chances of getting a conviction...
But he was so well preserved, people said, oh, my God, you know, here's this recently killed body. But he was found with nipples pinched and cut off. So he appears to have been someone who basically was deprived ritually of his attribute of kingship before being killed. So there you are. That seems to be the case. But there are extra points if you can tell me the national colour of Ireland.
Well, this feels like a trap.
It does indeed.
That's the flag, but that's not necessarily an indication of what the national colour
Blue.
is.
National colour.
Blue is the right answer.
Get in.
Very
It's worth a
good.
guess.
Well done. Yeah. The fact is, of course, it's changed. Now everybody thinks it's green, and green is where one paints themselves green in Chicago and New York for St. Patrick's Day. But St. Patrick's colour was blue, and it was known as St. Patrick's blue. The coat of arms of Ireland, you may see, is a shield of a harp against a ground of St. Patrick's blue. And the Irish Guards are distinct because of the blue in their bearskins. So blue was always really the colour of Ireland until really... It was in 1798 when they had one of their many rebellions, and green then became a symbol of Irish nationalism and sort of took over from blue. Sucking a king's nipples was a gesture of submission in ancient Ireland, so if you lost yours, you couldn't be king. Who first put 2 feet on the top of Mount Everest?
Sherpa Tenzing. Oh, dear. Edmund Hillary. So what, you're saying they hopped up there, then?
Cliff Richard.
Amazingly, we didn't guess you might say that.
Does it mean someone put an extra rock up there, make it 2 feet higher?
They made it 2 feet higher in a very extraordinary way. How high is...
Raised it from the bottom.
29.
That would be laborious. Yeah. How high is Mount Everest?
29,028 feet.
You're absolutely right down to the last foot. Since 1955, that has been the accepted height of Mount Everest.
It used to be 29,002 feet.
Exactly. But this is very good. But
the applause on What's My Line?
it was... You're getting warmer.
I think it's a man.
Yeah.
Let's see whose house it is. So it's Radhanat Sikdar was a mathematician from Bengal who was the first to identify Everest, which used to be known as Peak 15, as the world's highest mountain. And this was in 1852. He used a theodolite from 150 miles away, and he measured it to be exactly 29,000 feet. Exactly 29,000. And he thought no one would believe him. They would think he just rounded up and said, oh, it's about 29,000, you know. But he really... And so he was so annoyed by the fact that it was exactly 29,000, he added 2 feet so that it looked as if he was terribly precise.
Right, yeah.
So he was quite literally the first man to put 2 feet on yeah, silly question, I grant you, but it elicited the fact that you knew the 2 heights that were known of Everest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they will get you work anywhere in the world, those 2 facts. You can travel anywhere and just say, I know 2 things about Everest.
And George Everest, who was he? Why was the mountain named after him?
He kept changing his height.
He was the Surveyor General of India at the time it happened, and in his honour they called it Mount Everest. But even though it's named after him, it's still wrong to call it Mount Everest. Why would that be?
Because it's not a mountain, it's a hill.
No, it is. If anything's a mountain, I think we can say it is. No, we shouldn't call it Mount Everest because he didn't pronounce his name Everest. He pronounced it Everest.
Everest.
Everest. It should be Mount
George Everest.
George Everest. Yeah. I think I'm right in saying that Churchill's nanny was called Everest.
Nanny Everest.
Yeah.
The tallest nanny.
Stop me when you know about whom I am talking. Had she been eligible, she might have been elected US president. She's a trained scientist. She has larger breasts than you might imagine. Jonathan's alert. Her maiden name, Roberts.
Thatcher.
Oh, dear. Margaret Thatcher's maiden name was Roberts, but this particular Nay Roberts has over 1 billion pairs of shoes and yet stands only 11 inches tall.
I'm above Ed.
Thumbelina.
Not Thumbelina. This one exists.
11 inches tall?
Yeah.
Barbie.
Barbie is the right answer. Yay. She was named after one Barbara Millicent Roberts from Willows, Wisconsin.
If Barbie was a real person,
Yeah.
she wouldn't be able to stand.
Yes.
Anatomically.
Yeah, exactly.
Her feet are too small.
If you sort of blew her up to 5'6", her feet would be size 3, her breasts would be 39 inches, and she would just
But
go...
you wouldn't let her stand up anyway, would you? You'd only want her supine anyway, wouldn't you, if she had those kind of things?
Is that right? It's also apparently true, according to researchers at University Central Hospital in Helsinki, Finland, that her body shape lacks this 17 to 22% body fat, which would enable her to menstruate. But what was it she managed finally to get in the year 2000?
Pregnant.
It was a piece of something that...
The Shroud of
Bra.
Turin.
Not a bra, some part of her body. Not nipples, thank you.
A navel.
A navel is the right answer. She finally got a tummy button. Very good. Absolutely right. Barbie philosophy. Barbie spoke in 1992 for the first time. Do you know the kind of thing she said?
Where's my navel?
You could have said that.
No means no. Stop looking down there. I don't have bits.
Will we ever have enough clothes? Was one of the first.
It's a paradoxical frog, Ken.
Yeah. I love shopping.
Do you? But what did Barbie say, Stephen?
Math is tough. As we know, Barbie, whose full name was Barbara Millicent Roberts, was born in 1959. She's done everything, including running for president 3 times. Why wouldn't a Russian family call their son Power Station or Industrialization?
They're not names, are they?
Because they're not names.
No, they're not
They
names.
are. They are. They were. Whoop, yeah.
They are names.
I'm saying, why wouldn't they call their
Because
son?
they're girls' names.
Because they're girls' names is the
Girls'
right answer.
names.
Well done.
Well done. Power Station is Elektrostancia, is a girl's name, and Industrializacja is also a girl's name. But if you had a boy, you could call him Combine, which is Combine Harvester. Or you could call him 23 Fevralia, which is the 23rd of February. But this is actually a tradition in the Russian area, if you like. In Ukraine, their names like Noibie Batko, don't kill me, father. Would you believe?
Is it like the I don't know, it's a Red Indian thing where you come out the wigwam, the first thing you'd see.
Right.
So they'd come out and see a power station.
What my husband's Native American name is.
What?
Sits in front of telly farting.
Imagine if you said it quickly, it sounds quite nice.
Yeah.
Just...
You call him
Sits in
Said
telefarting.
it in a Russian accent.
Yeah, sits in front of telephone.
I like your sort of Camp German accent the best.
Oh, shut
And I'd
up.
like you to... Can you just do handy again for me?
What's my handy?
Rhymes with purple. Ah. It's like orange, nothing does.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Oh, dear. No, there are 2 words in the English language that rhyme with purple. 2.
Burple.
I won't say everyday words, but there are 2 words. Now, I'm afraid you have to lose 10 points there.
That's okay.
I'll tell you the answer.
Lurple.
Tent.
You won't get there. If you go through all the sounds known to man, you will get there.
Whirple, yerple, zerple.
Maple circle doesn't count.
Circle. Durple, yeah, furple, gurple, herple. Durple, curple, lurple, murple, nurple.
Do you know what you're doing on national television? Mrs. Davis's little boy has grown up to go nurple, purple, wurple.
Rurple, surple.
They're not common words, but...
If you had a swimming pool and you covered it in fur, it'd be a fur pool.
Furple.
It would. I'll tell you the answer. It's herple is one word.
I think I said
You did. Hey, 5 points, Daniel. 5 points, but 5 points taken away if you also mentioned any other sound. To herple is to hobble along with one leg dragging behind the other, halfway between a walk and a crawl. The other word, of course, you could have had was kerple.
I think you'll find out.
Didn't I say I'd take 10 points away if there was a second one that you'd already said?
Yes.
Yes, but I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to. Kerple is the leather strap passing under a horse's tail.
Under the tail of a horse.
Is buckled to the saddle to stop it slipping forwards. It's better known as a cropper. It's also, kerple, it's the rump or hindquarters of a horse. Now known as an I'm an idiot. Or now known as the croup. The word appears in a rhyme in the work of Scotland's national poet, and I shall give it to you. Aby mer vonti olmahap, dus hinging orme kerpel, than ony ermin everlap, or proud imperial purple. These were the first words spoken from the surface of the moon. How appropriate, Sean.
Hello? Can you hear me? It was...
It was the clangers, was it?
It's the clangers first. But it wasn't one small step for man, because he hadn't gone on yet.
Very true. Very good. So what else was it?
Well, he was like, come on down, Neil, it's fine. It's fine, don't worry about it. What's the big deal?
Golf clubs.
Yeah.
Great to be here in Philadelphia. I mean, the moon.
Well, let's sort out who said it. Who said the first human words uttered on the surface of the moon?
Neil Armstrong.
No.
Buzz Aldrin.
Yes, it was Buzz. He was in charge of the steering of the module as it landed, and 102 hours, 45 minutes and 25 seconds in, he was saying 4 forward, 4 forward, drifting to the right a little. That's good, that's good. Something garbled, and then contact light. And the contact light that showed they had landed was on. Those were the first words spoken. Not the eagle has landed, and certainly not small
This
step.
is the moon. This is the end of the line. Please. Please make sure you have all your bags and all your personal possessions.
What do you know about Buzz Aldrin otherwise?
His dad had a sense of humour.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, he called him Buzz.
But he didn't. He called him Edward Eugene Aldrin Jr.
Yeah.
His sister...
I think I'm right, actually.
His sister called him Buzz, because she couldn't say brother, so she'd say Buzzer, and he became Buzz. He eventually made it his legal name.
He had the hand of a monkey.
Very good. What was his mother's maiden name? Surely you know that.
Smith, Brown, Jones.
Moon. Moon is the right answer. Well done.
Did you know that?
What's quite interesting about digestive biscuits?
Well, it's a hard-working biscuit, the digestive. You know, you put cheese on it. There goes chocolate on it. It's a base for cheesecake. It really is a sort of Renaissance biscuit. It's a great dunker. It's a very, very hard-working biscuit. But have you ever noticed that there is a slightly fishy taste about a digestive?
What have you been dunking them in?
Oh, who have you been dunking them in?
Lord. We're in the world of misnomers, but things that are wrongly called.
Do they give you wind?
They were called digestive because they were supposed to be an anti-flatulent biscuit when they were designed in the 19th century. No, that's right. In America, it's...
You better have one of these.
Sorry. Maybe you stuffed it up, I don't know. But
I'd like to see an advert for this flatulence biscuit.
Hey, try it, digestive. We're heading right back down the diarrhea highway.
Welcome to the United Kingdom, Mr. The fact is, they are not aids to digestion. In America, it is illegal to call them digestives.
Of course, in America, do you know what we're talking about? Cookies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, which is from the Dutch. koekje, meaning a cake, which is why you call them cookies. Because what you call a biscuit is more like what we would call, I don't know, a kind of scone thing. You have biscuits and gravy. Explain to the ladies and gentlemen what that is.
Oh, traveller from an arcane land.
What do your people eat?
Everything.
Well, that's the way...
Biscuits is made from self-rising flour, and then they just slop gravy over it, and it just takes up room on the plate.
Right. And it's a breakfasty thing or a lunchy thing? Or?
It depends on what trailer park you live in. Sometimes it's 3 meals a day.
Fair enough. Well, 450 digestive biscuits are baked every second in the United Kingdom.
Really?
Yeah.
They are truly the mule of biscuits.
They certainly are. Were the first modern Olympics held? Still on Olympics? Yes.
1896 was the first year, and I believe it was Athens.
No. It's not correct, I'm afraid. No.
Was it in Greece, though?
No, it wasn't in Greece. I'm sorry about that. No.
Was it London?
No, you're in the right country, though.
Damn.
If you've got the place, I'd be very surprised. Johnny might, if I were to say A.E. Houseman, you might get the place.
Salisbury?
Nope.
Shropshire.
Shropshire is the right answer.
Shropshire,
Much Wenlock, as in on Wenlock Edge.
Wenlock Edge.
The town of Much Wenlock, from the year 1850, held Olympic Games. It's an extraordinary man called Dr. W.P. Brooks.
1896 was the first Olympics.
And so people suggest, but Baron Coubertin, who was the founder, supposedly, of the modern Olympic movement, and he wrote about W.P. Brooks. Much Wenlock is a town in Shropshire, a county on the borders of Wales, and if the Olympic Games that modern Greece has not yet been able to revive, he wrote this in 1890, Coubertin, still survive today, it is due not to a Greek, but to W.P. Brooks. It is he who inaugurated them 40 years ago. And it is he, now 82 years of age, still alert and vigorous, who continues to organise and inspire them. So Coubertin came to Wenlock Edge, and he, being a baron, having influence and political connections, was able to do what this little country parson was not able to do, which was to get the rest of the country, the rest of the world. But King George I of Greece, of the Hellenes, sent a silver medal to be a prize at the Wenlock Olympics. So for 46 years before the first Athens Olympiad, as it's counted, there were Olympic Games that are recognised by the very man who is known as the father of the Olympic movement. Gosh. So let's hear it from W.P. Brooks. But he died just a year before the Athens Olympics.
So 2012, Hackney.
Yeah, could be, couldn't it?
Could be Hackney.
Could be.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Hackney.
What
I
a
live in Hackney.
shithole. Kayaking down the Lee River.
I used to live in Hackney.
You can develop film in the Lee River, but you can't kayak.
What colour is the universe?
Magnolia.
Everything's magnolia.
It's very spacious, you see, so you want a light colour, but you want to be overpowering if it was white.
You might do a dark ceiling just to bring it in a bit.
Yeah,
I'm going to say.
it's deceptive, the universe, because from the outside, if you're God, it looks quite small. But when you're in there, it's really quite spacious with plenty of storage.
You're very, very, very close, I have to say. It's not quite Magnolia.
Beige.
Absolutely right, 10 points. It is, in fact, beige, the universe. Brilliant.
Not to the naked eye, though.
Not to the naked eye, I quite agree, but it is official. Last year, after analysing the light from 200,000 galaxies, American scientists announced that the universe was pale green, not black with silvery bits, as it appears to us. Taking the Dulux paint range as a standard, it was somewhere between Mexican mint, jade cluster, and Shangri-La silk. However, to the embarrassment of the American astrophysical community, a few weeks after announcing their discovery to the American Astronomical Society, they had to admit that they'd actually made a mistake in their calculations, and the universe was, in fact, more a sort of taupe or beige colour. I thought it was Gay Whisper with a touch of amber glow, which are my favourite. This is my pancake colour. It's called Gay Whisper. Did you know that? It actually is. Literally true. Gay Whisper.
Is gay whispers like Chinese whispers?
Only more fun.